Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today, I have my great friend, Mr. Don Costa, all the way from California. You're in Sacramento, right?
I'm in Fresno. Yeah, I'm Fresno. I'm 3 hours south of Sacramento. Yeah.
Fresno. How you been, man? It's been a while since we connected.
I've been good. I've been a little quiet, I think, in the world of real estate and real estate content. As some people who know me know, I've had a podcast for about a decade and been putting out content and doing different things. And the last year or so, I've been kind of laying low. I have a community that I work with pretty closely, and I've been working, spending my time making sure that I'm helping them through some of their trials and tribulations, and just trying to spend as much time as I can with my family. My boys are older; they're 20 and 21. They still live at home, and trying to help them get up and going. And so just been kind of doing my thing, man. But it's been good.
Bro, you gotta do it like we do it in South America. So in Venezuela, you kick out your son when he's like 40.
He's 40.
Well, what happens is those kids they get to save a lot of money, and that's the purpose. It's like, hey, save all your money, because unfortunately in Venezuela we don't have the financing system we have here, where we can go get a mortgage, and that does not exist. Like literally today, you either buy cash or you're not buying.
Right.
And I've even tried to do some creative financing over there, and they're like, yeah, I can finance it to 3 months. And I was like, 3 months? Like, no, I need 5 years or 10 years, So what families, and I've seen this with Asians and Indians as well, they all live together for a while on a big house, right? And everybody works. And each one of them, they pitch in, and then they get to save the majority of their money. But when they get out of the house, they literally just go buy a property cash. And, which, of course, we use debt because we're investors and all that. And thankfully, our economy in the U.S. allows us to get loans and things of that nature. But, I will keep my kids living with me until they either get tired of me, or they decide to go get married and be on their own, or something along those lines. But I don't care how old they are. I don't care if they hit 35 and they're still in the house. So be it. You know what I mean? Like, as long as they have a purpose.
I kind of feel the same way in a sense. I have really good kids. My daughter just turned 11. My boys are 20, 21, all from the same mom. In case anybody asks why there's a gap, there's just a gap because there's a gap. And with my boys, like I didn't come from money. My grandparents were the ones basically raised me. My grandfather retired from General Motors. So the money mindset was more get a job, I didn't have the influence and the people to tap into at the age my sons are. So I'm just constantly hammering into them that this is your time to make mistakes. This is your time to try things. This is your time to figure it out. You don't have to know. You just have to go out there and try and figure out what it is you're passionate about and build something. And so like my younger son is passionate about, he wants to direct feature films. And so he's passionate about movie making. He's actually on a feature film set today, working, basically as an assistant cameraman. And the reason why he is able to do that is because I basically told him, I was like, go kick down some doors, reach out to people, start building relationships. And he listened, and he started kicking down doors and reaching out to people. And one thing led to the next job and led to the next job. And he's got the opportunity to offer services for free because he's got food in his belly and a roof over his head. Right. And a lot of people these days, they don't want to do that. They're like, well, what do I get out of it? If I go do this, what do I get out of it? And I've hammered my boys is like, knowledge is as good as money at your age right now, because the knowledge is going to make you so much money in the future. And they're listening, and I'm so proud of them for that. So
that's good, especially when I think I read a book from Tim Grover. He would train Michael Jordan for 2 years with no pay.
Right.
And Michael Jordan won championships. And every day Tim Grover showed up, and Michael was just pushing iron and getting stronger. And then one day Michael came in and wrote him a check that it was bigger than ever anything that he's ever seen. which is the same principle that you're talking about. Like, hey, go ahead and volunteer, learn the trade, learn the tricks, make the mistakes now, while you're learning and young. Way you now accumulate experience, which has a lot of value. Um, and it will be a lot easier for you to make money doing what you love doing, which is because I remember he was producing your podcast too, right? Like, and a lot of your videos and stuff like that back in the days.
He was doing stuff to help me out, and he was doing stuff to work with me. He was doing a lot of his own stuff as well, trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And so yeah, and so I'm watching him evolve right before my eyes. He's reaching up. He's climbing the ladder. He's getting praise from the people he's working with, and he's doing a really good job. So
Let's talk about that for a second, because I honestly, Don, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was, I don't know, 19, 20 years old. I was working for my father. That's the only thing I've seen throughout my whole life. And then, but if you ask me, hey, Ricardo, what do you want to do when you grow up? I didn't have an answer, man.
right.
And I was like, I don't know. I think I just want to sell insurance like my dad, right? Because that's the only thing I knew. And that's how I ended up in the military then, because I needed to pay bills and needed insurance. So I'm like, I might as well join the military and figure things out while I'm there. And I think for the first time I knew what I wanted to do was while I was in the military. I knew I didn't want to be there for longer than 4 years. That's a fact. And then I knew I could go get a job outside in the oil field, applying my mechanical skills, making a lot more money. So I think the first time I knew what I wanted to do, I was like 25.
Right.
And I've seen parents put pressure on their children so hard that the children later, eventually, when they become, teenagers and then later on adults, they feel this pressure that they gotta go become an attorney or a doctor or a degree of some sort because degree open doors. What's your take up on that?
Well, I don't believe that college is necessary unless you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, right? Something that requires you to have that kind of education in order to be successful in your field. Most people nowadays go to college to check a box, and the degree isn't worth the paper it's written on. So that's my take on it. Now, with that said, yeah, I sent my oldest son to college for a couple of semesters, and then he decided he wanted to take a break, and he's going to change schools. But that was because he wanted to go that path. It wasn't something that I had directed. I don't look like I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, basically, which was free. And that's all I knew. I knew I didn't want to be confined to a cage. I didn't know how I was going to get there. Cause like I said, I was the abnormality in my family. And so my family was amazing people. I don't mean that in any other way than it was go to school, get a job, or go get a job in a trade, and that was the path. And that didn't work for me. So, but I didn't know where I was going to land or how I was going to get there, how I was going to build businesses, what businesses I was going to build. So, and now my sons, they have that access. They have that access to my community. They have that access to the people that I look up to. They have that access to me, and I want them to utilize that to figure out what they want to build in their life. Because I think that so many of us, I've watched so many people get stuck in being pushed into something or feeling obligated to do something and make a decision. And they look up, 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, and they're unhappy with their life. And they end up blowing up their entire life because they don't know if they're unhappy in their marriage or if their job or all of the above. But whatever it isn't working for them. And so with my kids, I'm just constantly like, you can accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and go to work. You're willing to put the time into it. You're willing to serve others, right? Help other people, grow as well. And you're willing to learn and ultimately you're willing to make mistakes and fail. Like I encourage my kids to fail, and I feel that they're going to be so much happier in life. Now I want to be clear, like I'm not the give your kid a trophy dad just for showing up. That's not who I am. I'm a suck it up and don't be a wuss dad, but at the same time I'm going to give you the tools to go out there and do what you can do to be successful, and I'm going to have your back 100%.
I love it. So we did a podcast. I would think that maybe that was like 2019 or 2020. That was probably the last time we did one. It's been a long time. Where you talked about your past, like when you were in the clubs and promoting the parties, and then you had the sunglasses brand, all of those things. So guys, if you guys are listening to this podcast or watching it, go back to that one. It's there somewhere. I don't remember what episode it is. I may look it up while we're doing the podcast, Don. But go back so you can learn about Don's life and how he how he basically got into the world of real estate back then. Okay. Actually, that podcast is called Don Costa Opens Up and Gets Vulnerable by sharing his journey into his real estate career. And that was published in June 2nd, 2021. It's got quite a few downloads, believe it or not. And it's also on YouTube, guys. So go find it so you can understand Don's past, okay? Because we're gonna talk about what Don is up to today, all right? Which is a journey, and Don and I kind of like talked about it before the podcast. Full disclosure, like we're friends, so we were catching up. We hadn't seen each other probably since March, I think. And here we are, October, towards the end of the year, last quarter. What are you up to today, Don? Like you've been a real estate investor for a very long time, but you've also been in the marketing business, like because we're in sales and marketing, both of us are. You also have your community, ICE, and there are probably other things that I don't know that you're doing right now. You just told me you're focused on your family and your kids, which it's always good to take a step back and focus on what really matters. And family is number one. We tend to neglect our family because we gotta push and we gotta go make money and to support the family. And by doing that, we neglect our family, right? And I'm guilty of that. I've been guilty of that. I don't know how many times. But what are you up to today, brother?
All kinds of crazy stuff. So,
I like crazy.
I'm an entrepreneur born through and through, so I'm constantly doing something that's got my attention. I hate to say chasing shiny objects, but sometimes I do. I'm still doing real estate. I own a CRM called forefrontcrm.com. I have a handful of other things going on, in the background that I'm doing, all geared and wrapped around the real estate space. I'm actually doing something kind of crazy. I'm terrible right now at putting out the content around it. I've been recording content. I put some of it out. I'm going to put a lot more of it out. So people want to, follow this, just start following me because it's going to start coming out pretty soon. I'm going to open the floodgate, but I'm building a business from scratch. I noticed that a lot of people are struggling. I should say notice a lot of people are struggling right now. A lot of people have been struggling for the last couple of years. And a lot of it culminated because around 21, 22, the market was on fire and people thought that they couldn't do no wrong, just like I thought until like 2005, 2004. They were running bad businesses. They were betting on a market staying hot forever. And then the market cooled and they got caught with either inventory that they can't get rid of, or their business just isn't functioning in the same way because they didn't understand their business and how it operated. And I've been working with a lot of investors in our community and from investors around the country, basically helping them unwind some of that mess and helping them to find the path to success. And so I decided what I was going to do is do something that I always wanted to do, but I never did, which was document creating a company. And so I literally am documenting starting something from scratch. Like I'm not using any of my team, any of my resources in a sense. To build a company from scratch. I'm handcuffing myself in somewhat the same way. I have an edge because I'm not doing like a $500 budget, but we've been doing a lot of testing the last couple of months on like direct mail and different marketing channels. And I've been handling the acquisitions calls. I got, rehabs going on. I'm the one doing the project management. Like I put all the hats on again and I'm saying, okay, what are the challenges I'm having in this market? And what is my knowledge helping me do to navigate those challenges and so that I can share that with people? Because you'd be amazed, Ricardo, how many people have been running these businesses and making money, but they can't tell you like, okay, what marketing channel is driving your leads and driving your deals? What's your average cost per deal? You know what I'm saying? Like, what budget does it take to make a marketing channel effective? People don't understand. $5,000 a month in direct mail in 90% of the markets right now
That's
is not going to
nothing.
it's not going to get you deals,
No.
And so even in PPC, there's a number that pushes it into making it work, and then right below that is you're just burning money and throwing it away. And
Right.
so I'm putting myself back in the seat in a way because in my business I had the luxury of I had great people in place doing everything, and I could see how great it was. Well, what if I removed all of that and put myself back in everybody else's shoes? What would I have to encounter? And I have to say that it's not as challenging to get deals as people think it is if you're willing to actually make a marketing channel function the way it's supposed to. My first round of testing started in May. It was direct mail, and we did a drop of about 27,000 pieces over about 3 weeks. We dropped it over 3 weeks, so it wasn't a small drop. On that, I averaged $6,000 per deal, and I'm at a 5-to-1 return. So for every dollar I've invested in direct mail, I'm going to get about $5 back in return, which isn't great, but it isn't horrible either. It's a good return.
No, that's good.
Yeah, so it's working. $6,000 cost per deal isn't the best cost per deal in the world in my market, but out of the gate, it's pretty good. But the other factor, like people don't pay attention to, I'm averaging about 20 days between first contact to contract. Okay, that's an important thing to know, right? So that means I got to continuously follow up with these phone calls with these sellers in order to get a deal to the table. I got to build the relationship. I got to be on top of it. And a lot of people seem to think that if I don't get a deal on the first 2 or 3 calls, then it's not a lead, it's not a deal, and they go on to the next and they go on to the next. So I'm breaking down like, okay, this is my cost per deal. This is my return on spend. This is how many days it takes me from first contact to get contract, and really breaking it down, help people understand that if you're willing to run the business the right way, even in today's market, you're going to be able to get deals and make money, but you got to run a business like a business.
I remember when I went to one of the accelerators that you had in California, Rivers. I forgot the city. Yeah, in Riverside, and you showed your KPIs tracking. I was impressed, man, with that. I'm a KPI guy too. Like I live by it. I know exactly what it takes me to get a deal. And when I saw your spreadsheet, I was like, man, this guy's got his thing down to the number that is allocated to the letter, to the postcard, all kinds of different numbers, all kinds of different days. Like how long does it take for the calls to come back or for the outbound to go out and the responses. So you guys are watching these guys and you want to connect with Don about KPIs tracking, I highly suggest you connect with him because he's really good at doing that. You're probably much better than I am, to be honest with you. I always get one of my guys to do it for me. So, it's not necessarily 100% the way I want it, but it works for me, right? I'm a delegator. I like what you're doing right now. I don't know that I would be able to do it. Like I'm going to wear all the hats. I'm like, hell no, I'm not doing that. Like I'm going to go delegate as much as I can. And then I will help them navigate. But which, by the way, Don, you got to document all that stuff on a video, man, and put it on YouTube, right? Because you can, and you can teach a lot of people like what it is to get a business from the ground up, especially if it's whether it's wholesaling or fix and flips, which you do both. And you got, I don't know if you got rentals or not. I do, but I don't like them. Like I don't enjoy them. It's what I can say about them. But I'm pretty sure that if you put all that stuff out on YouTube or even your podcast, I don't know if you're still running or not, people will benefit from it. Now, what are you? Was that?
We'll be definitely put it out for sure. Yeah.
What are you seeing on the market today? Like, are you focusing locally in Fresno, or are you going to other areas? Like I know in the past you did multiple states.
Right now, I'm focused on the Central Valley, California. I started with just Fresno County. We've evolved into another county, and we'll be evolving into a third county and then a fourth county because Central Valley is probably 4 or 5 counties that we typically work with. So I am rehabbing and wholesaling. So I want to put that out there. You really got to, if you only have like one exit, you're kind of handicapping yourself. I mean, especially in the market right now. Because like the first three deals I got out of the gate, there wasn't enough room to be able to wholesale into it and a buyer that would take them down, but they made perfect sense as a rehab. And
Right.
so the fact that I have the skill set to be able to do both made it real easy for me to start taking down deals. And which again, putting myself in the project management seat. What am I up against? What am I up against pricing? What am I up against materials? And I spent a lot of time, right out of the gate, sitting down with vendors and go, okay, where can we get pricing down? Okay, you're saying, pricing went up because of the tariffs. You're saying pricing went up because of whatever. Okay, where, I'm gonna bring, a ton of volume to your business. What kind of discounts can I get right out of the gate? And believe it or not, I'm getting really, really good discounts because I was willing to sit down and say, okay, this is what I'm gonna build. And I want you to be part of that with me. But I need you to set me up for success from the beginning. And so I'm getting pricing down. I'm getting net 30 terms, net 60 terms. I'm getting all those things in place to start to make a business function like a business. And that's the exciting part about it for me, Ricardo. I'm a delegator too. I want to be out of the seats as fast as possible, but I don't want anybody looking at me and telling me, oh, because of the market, it can't be done. Oh, because of the market, it's going to cost this much. I'm sitting in the seat and going, no, this can be done. And no, there is a fix for this. And so I can say it with confidence that this is what I'm doing to make things work right now.
Let's talk about net 30 and net 60. I love that.
Right.
And some people may not understand what that is if they don't come from business, right? Like we, as as vendors, we or the vendor to us, they give us some terms, okay? And when you say, hey, I'm doing next 60 or next 30, I love doing that because that's kind of like 0% financing. So can you explain a little bit how you are negotiating those net 30 and next 60 with your vendors? Is it on the rehabs or the roof? What talk to me, walk through me, talk to me through that process.
Well, if you have local supply houses, whether it's like windows, cabinets, and granite, those, flooring, a lot of those, basically, whether you're just sourcing materials from somebody or they're doing the material and installation for you, a lot of those companies will give you terms. Maybe not right out of the gate on your very first project you ever do with them, but if you have an established relationship or you're establishing a relationship, you can go in and start to ask for those things. And what it really kind of helps is it helps the cash flow in your business. That's what I'm big about, is understanding how capital runs through a business. Not just profitability, but actually cash flow, how to keep as much of your own money in the bank as possible when you're doing deals. And so, again, I'll throw it out there. I borrow 100% from my investors. I never put any of my own money in deals ever. But on top of that, I'll still get terms from these vendors, so I don't have to pay the bill right away. So essentially, I'm going in there and they're giving me credit, either 30 days or 60 days, basically. They're giving me the material or they're going in and installing the product for me. And then they invoice me and I have 30 days to pay that invoice. And that just frees up a lot of things. It frees up us chasing our tail, trying to get paid checks out to everybody, but it also frees up capital and allows us to keep our capital reserve longer. When creditors look at you as a business, a lot of times they're looking at your average daily deposit. That more than credit score as a business, or as much as credit score as a business, right? Your average daily deposit matters, and the more capital you're able to keep on hand as a business, the better you look as a creditor, a borrower in that business. And so, if I can, even though I may have the capital on hand to pay that $5,000 bill to company X, if I can keep that money in my bank 30 days longer and maintain a better average daily balance, that makes my business look better. And that's not even what I care about really at the end of the day, but that's just a fact I want to throw out there. What I just really care about is I want as much money in the bank as possible for as long as possible.
Perfect. That's a great way to put it. I even do that in my own business with my employees. Like they have to work a certain amount of time before they actually get paid. So it serves as financing in a way for not only for me, um, but it ensures that they actually deliver the job that they're supposed to do. And and then if there is anything left over, we talk about it, and they're like, "How come you didn't finish this or that?" Okay, still have your money, so
Mhm.
you need to go complete those tasks. So
Right.
with the rehabbing world, when you get a net 30 or net 60, and let's say you're using hard money, okay, which I know you're probably using private money, but let's say you're using hard money. And on the hard money side, basically what they do is they advance you the rehab money upon completion of certain stages. So let's say you are doing this in 5 stages. All right. Stage number one is demolition, and then maybe doing the roof. Okay. The Harmon lender wants you to see you do the demolition and then do the roof before they cut you a check for the amount that you put on the budget for it. With Don's way of doing business, he's actually getting the vendor to come in, do the demolition, do the roof. He doesn't have to pay them for another 30 or 60 days, but then his lender will cut him a check and said, "Hey, here is the money for the roof and the demo." So money never came out of his pocket. He worked 100% with the lender's money and with the contractor's money.
Yeah, and that's when it comes to rehabbing, and I'm sure there's rehabbers on here listening to this. That's the biggest handcuff that these guys have as rehabbers is capital and cash flow. And what I've seen is so many rehabbers, they're having to pay this money out and then go and get a draw, and it's burying them, especially in today's market, right? Because the market is a little stagnant. Properties aren't moving as fast. They're going to sit on the market longer, and so you're not going to see your capital back or your profit back, as quickly as we have in the past. And so when you're outlaying capital and then especially on multiple projects and then having to do the draws, a lot of these guys are getting themselves buried, and especially if they go over budget, and so that's the way I designed my business, was money in first, money out second, instead of money out and then money in. And it's an important philosophy. There's a lot of moving parts to it, a lot of layers to it. But it's something that's allowed me to, run a business without wanting to drink bleach every day. You know what I'm saying?
Love it, man. So let's talk about marketing all the way to rehabbing, right? I think most people that are rehabbing only, like fix and flippers and landlords that do the Burr method, they either buy from wholesalers or they buy from the MLS, correct? Or from some off market properties from an agent or whatnot. Um, you and I, we knew that if we started doing marketing, not only we were going to be able to increase our margins as rehabbers, but also some properties that we may not want to rehab, we can wholesale it to another person and say, you know what, I'm just going to recoup my marketing dollars, make a fee on top of that, and run a business out of it. And I think at some point, you and I were probably doing the same thing, which was wholesaling like crazy and not rehabbing anything. Because it just didn't make sense to go and sign on loans, and when you can just make a bunch of money on because the market is hot, like you said earlier, 2021, 22, some parts of 2023. When you put let's say, what are your marketing channels right now, Don?
My main marketing channel is direct mail. That's pretty much what I've been focusing on the last several months, is testing direct mail. We've been doing some text messaging as well, testing some different lists on text messaging to see which ones kind of work and which ones don't. We've been dabbling in some pay per lead stuff, but my primary focus is direct mail. And the reason why is because that's a channel I really love and understand well. I've sent out over 1 million postcards in a year before. I know it. These other channels are great for kind of backfilling, lead flow. But direct mail is something that basically January through June, if anybody's listening to those direct mail, is the absolute best period for response rate and locking up deals in direct mail. July and August are some of the worst months for response rate. And then the second half of the year is not quite as good as the first. And so I've spent the last handful of months testing different lists, testing different postcard pieces, and figuring out and basically gearing up for about the middle of December, where I'm going to basically drop a bomb on the counties that I'm going to be working in, and we're going to go hardcore. And my goal is to do the 20 to 30 contracts a month I was doing in the past, January through June. So you're going to watch me do some accelerated growth, some accelerated hiring, and the content put out around the end of the year, beginning of next year, to accomplish that. So, but direct mail is the primary focus.
Yeah, once you start handling that kind of that many contracts, there's not you doing it all again. Like you have to completely delegate. You gotta delegate to others and have acquisitions, dispositions. Now
Mhm.
let's say you send a mail, you get a phone call. Because by the way, there's a whole difference in between text messaging and mailers. Okay, for those of you listening or watching this, mailer is more reactive from the seller side. So they either receive your letter or your postcard, they read it, you put something in there that caught their attention, and then they call you back because they're getting your letter and a bunch of other people's letters as well. So you gotta become creative. You gotta get creative on those letters in order to get that response that you're looking for. Um, and then on text messaging, text messaging really got screwed up when all these regulations came out. Like, I mean, but of course, it was the wild wild west too before the regulations. So a lot of like guys like me, we abused the system, and that's why those regulations came out. So now that we know that we have to deal with regulations on texting and all that, both of them are reactive because they're replying back to you. With texting is quicker. With postcards is it takes a while. It's like it may take a week or 2 weeks before they ring the phone back. Hey, yes, I have a property to sell. Now, once you put all this money in marketing and you start getting responses back, and let's talk about both channels, right? What is your average postcard or letter to contract or text to contract in both of your marketing channels right now?
So on postcard, we're averaging about $6,000 per deal. That's going to put us right about 12,000 pieces, just a little over 12,000 pieces per deal. And on texting, that's a whole different animal. We're looking at the last round we did, we were probably somewhere in the neighborhood of probably about 5,000 texts per lead. We sent out about, actually, no, I take that back. We sent out 10,000 text messages in the last round we did, test round we did, and we got 6 leads back. So it actually puts us just a little over 1,000 texts per lead. Out of that, it looks like on that particular round, we're going to get about one deal out of it so far. So,
That's
and
good.
and that's the best. That's a specific list we're using. That's the best we've done so far. We tried some different lists where we were sending roughly, about 1,000 text messages, 2,000 text messages a day on that particular list. We sent out, gosh, somewhere around probably 17,000 text messages overall, on that particular list we were trying originally, and we didn't end up getting anything from it. So one of the things I'm learning about text messaging, not only is how you respond, and obviously, whether or not you're on a platform that works. Like one of the issues we're having originally was deliverability, but the list matters as well. The list is very important.
So what kind of list are you hitting?
So the list I'm hitting, I'm going to throw it out there. The list that's worked really, really well for me in direct mail right now, and worked really, really well for me on text messaging is Dataflix list. Dataflix, I'm sure people have heard about it. They're out
Yeah.
there. Their list is what has so far worked better for me than anything else. I've tried some different lists out there. One of the lists that we did try was, we got a list of people who had filled out either loan apps and got denied, or responded to some kind of ad saying that they might be interested in selling their home. And when we tried to utilize that list for text messaging, that was the list that was kind of a dud for us. So it was a whole lot of, basically, I want $1 million for my house. It's worth half that. So
Yeah, my favorite list, Don, and I don't mind disclosing it, because honestly, even if I say what my favorite list is, it's very expensive to get. And the reason why is because I go for the equity and the age of the property, other than the motivation, if you know what I mean. So the way I got my list is it's houses older than 1989, and in some cases it's 1999. Some cities are newer than other ones.
mhm.
Also, the property has to be owned 10 years or more by that owner. And the owner is an individual, it's not an LLC. So I weed out all the corporations and LLCs just to make sure I'm targeting an individual. And also these are in tertiary markets. They're not in like a primary market like the city of Fresno or the city of Houston where there's more competition. So I go 45 minutes to an hour and a half away from that to find the equity, right? Because when I'm the only one fishing on that pond, most likely I'm the only one getting an agreement. Like I don't have competition, especially on a bigger list where you're sending a lot of messages or letters to get the response back. Um, and then the equity has to be um, 60% or greater. So actually, the sometimes I run it to 30% because these
Mhm.
houses are almost paid for. And if I buy them even at the tax appraisal price that's disclosed on the tax appraisal district, they're putting money on their pockets. So they're going to be more willing to sell at a, I wouldn't say at a discounted price because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in discounted properties. Like there's no such thing. You're paying fair market value for what the property is worth because it needs renovations, it needs, rehabbing or whatever to make it be worth what it is, right? Like the ARV, the after repair value. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, you know what that is. If you don't, you need to go to episode number 001, where we talk about that. But in my case, Don, we were getting one contract in those tertiary markets every 5,000 text messages. So now back then, I was sending about 2 to 3,000 a day. So it was almost a contract every other day that we were producing. Back then, I'm talking about 2022, roughly, when the market was hot and we were all geniuses and we didn't know about it, right? Today I'm starting a new campaign, but one thing I found out, and for everybody that's listening out there, and even for you, Don, do not send more than 400 messages per day per line per number. You When you do that, the bots that the carriers use are going to catch you and they're going to start marking your numbers or spam. So what we were able to do in 1 or 2 days, now it's taking us 10 to 15 days. So if I want to get 2 contracts in a month, that's 30 days worth of texting, right? So my price per contract has increased because obviously I have to have labor behind it, somebody texting. And of course, there's AI and you got bots and things like that work and they do autoresponders and all that. And we use some of it, but I still like the human interaction behind it. Um, what's been your experience with texting lately?
Like I said, deliverability being on the right platform is important. Deliverability is definitely something that's been an issue. A lot of people, when it comes to texting, I think cold calling, have been hammered so hard. I think this goes for every marketing channel, direct mail as
Yeah,
well. It's just been hammered so hard that they're kind of sick of it. So you're getting some, not that you didn't always get colorful responses, but you're getting some really, really colorful responses and stuff that you can't repeat on a podcast. Let's just say the grundle was mentioned. Kissing the grundle was mentioned at one point. If everybody knows or the Tate,
right.
whatever it is. On one of them, I had to laugh real hard. But um, you know, with something like direct mail, it is they're either going to basically tell you basically where you can go in so many colorful words,
Yeah,
or they're going to be like, yeah, I got some questions.
right.
It's 50-50. With text messaging, even the people I think that might be interested, they're on guard. You're just some random message that they got, and they've heard about spam and I mean, it's not spam, but scams and everything else, and scam messages. I get scam messages, and so when you get a random message from somebody that wants to buy your home, um, even if you're somebody that might seriously be thinking about it, your first response is to throw a wall up. And you gotta, I'm noticing that, you know, with a channel like that, especially since I'm the one doing the calls and stuff like that, is you really got to kind of weed through like, okay, what are they really saying in this response? And so you got to get on the phone with all of them. Anybody who responds positively, you got to get on the phone and say, okay, do you really want $1 million for your house that's worth 500? Or is that just a front because you don't know me from Adam, but you want to have a conversation about selling your home? So you have to kind of weed through and be willing to take the punches on whatever is considered a positive response. And to me, anybody says, yeah, I'll sell, or possibly, or I'm just looking at, some of the responses we've got. So it's important to get on. And I think as acquisitions people, unless it's an absolute yes, sometimes we'll just kind of shake it off and move on to the next one. And so more and more, it's important to get on the ones that even aren't obvious deals or obvious leads and have a conversation to see if something's there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what determines, and you mentioned this earlier, but I want to focus on this for a minute, because I think it was my fault. I got derailed from where I wanted to go with the last question. What determines to you, hey, this is a flip or this is a wholesale deal?
So a couple of things. That's a loaded question. I could probably talk about for 3 hours.
Right.
But on the surface, if I have a number. Some people operate off a minimum dollar amount. I operate off of a cash and cash percentage. I operate off a minimum percentage return. And so if it is at a number where I know that we can buy it and flip it and make money, but it's not going to have enough room for or meat on the bone for another rehabber to do it, or then I'm probably going to end up taking that down. I'm not going to let the deal go. I'm going to take it down as a flip. Where a lot of wholesalers are about to pass that up, I can take it down as a flip. We'll still shop it out and see if we might get a landlord buyer who's willing to pay more than a rehabber would. And in some cases, that may be the case. So far, what we've taken down, we've taken down. If there's room in there to wholesale it, then we're obviously going to look at that as an opportunity. Right now, I'm trying to balance between money now and money later. The quick nickel or the slow dime. In business, you need both. You really do need both. And so I'm looking for that balance. And then the next thing is it a project that we want to do? Like, does it fit our buy box? I did a whole series for ICE, one of the ICE meetings, about the biggest mistakes I've seen investors make over the last couple of years, and my conversations with investors and just sitting down doing. I spend an hour. Anytime our members need it, I'll spend an hour with them going through their business, helping them unpack things, and just looking at the issues they're running into. And one of the biggest mistakes that rehabbers make, and there's a lot of them, but one of the biggest mistakes is not having a defined buy box. And so I have a defined buy box, right? I'm not going to go in and move walls. I'm not going to do fire damage, stuff like that, right? And so if that's what it requires, then 99.9% it's going to be a wholesale. And so because it doesn't fit my box, this is what I'm going to specialize in. This is what I can move fast on. I can get in and get out and get paid. And so this is where it's going to stay. Now, when I say define your buy box, what I don't mean stay in that box every single time. I just mean everything in that box is an instant yes. And anything that's outside that box is let's take a pause, have a conversation with my experts around me or my team, and see if the trade-off is worth doing that deal. Like, is it fire damage, but we're going to make $500,000 in that thing, and we're going to invest $200,000 to do that? Then yeah, I'm probably going to take that one that's outside my buy box and do that deal. But unless there is a return that makes it make sense, I'm staying in my buy box. And so for me, if it's something outside the scope that I would typically want to take on for the time that I want to be in a project and the return I'm going to get, then it's an instant wholesale.
Do you do novations as well?
We've done novations in the past. I haven't done any recently as I'm taking on all the seats myself. It's something that I'll definitely keep in my arsenal. As a company, doing deals, we've done novations, and I mean, I see novations. I'm a novation purist, I guess, in the sense of the word. Like, some people think I'm going to take this and I'm going to invest $20,000 into fixing this property up as a novation, and they call that a novation. To me, that's a rehab. And so to me, a true novation is I got little to no money into it.
I got no money in it. Yep.
Yeah. I might make $1,500 in repairs during escrow.
I don't even do that, bro. Like I'm like, I just cut the grass.
Right.
Kiss the wife goodbye and let's put it on the market. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna go put a lot of money on a novation.
we're on the same page. It's got to be something where we can basically list it and give the seller what they want and still make our profit without having to invest an arm and a leg into making that happen. And then in that case, I'll do those.
Yeah, that's too risky. I know. I remember Corey was putting $25,000 on houses that he was novating, and I'm looking at him like, you are out of your mind, because that deed wasn't even on his name. Like, now, if they allow me to get my name on the deed, no problems. Let's do it, because that's like a owner finance, deal with no money down, but you're putting the rehab money. That's a whole different story. But he was taking a lot of risk, and I think a couple of those deals backfired him, because after the properties were fixed, the owners didn't want to sell. So,
Right.
so how do you navigate those waters now, right? So I don't advise to do it that way. I like the way you do it and the way I do it, which is I don't even put $1,500 is a lot of money for me right now, and to go put it on a gamble. I would just rather for you and I go party, because we know a little bit about that and spend the money that way.
We spent more in that in one night. So
I know exactly.
But what my comment was more of, like, if we're in escrow with a buyer and there are some buyer requested repairs that need to be done, I might do those repairs in order to get the escrow to the finish line. But that's the extent of the investment I'm making.
Let's talk about ICE. Okay. Which I don't think on the last podcast we talked about. What is ICE, and how do you help your community with that group?
ICE is a mastermind, in I think the true sense of a mastermind. And there are other masterminds out there that are incredible and wonderful. ICE is a community that I take very personally. And the individuals in ICE are active investors from around the country that are working hard to build their businesses, and it's a collaboration. We come together, several times a year, and we collaborate and we share what's working and what's not working. We may lick our wounds from mistakes we made or issues we ran into, and we reset and refocus, and we go out to do battle again in the business world. So it's a community that I'm super proud of. I'm super close with, so I do spend time with them. Each one of our members has a calendar link that they can at any time book any open slot I have, where, like I said, I'll spend time helping them unpack an issue, work through a problem, talk out an idea. And of course, we have wonderful members, and any of the other members will as well. So it's just, it's your brothers, and your sisters, and that's the way we're trying to build it, right? We're not trying to be the biggest mastermind out there. We're not trying to get 200 or 300 or 400 people in the room. That becomes you and I have been part of a mastermind for the last couple of years. It isn't a mastermind. It calls itself a mastermind. It's got incredible people there, but it's a networking event. We go to hang out and have dinner and talk and stay up late and have drinks. But we don't ever lock ourselves in a room, roll up our sleeves, and go work on our businesses. That's not what we do there. To me, that's what a mastermind is for. I can go to somebody and say, I need help with this, and you're good at that. And they're going to go, okay, I'm going to help you. Whereas some of these things are called a mastermind. You go to somebody and say, I need help with this. And they go, okay, give me 10 grand a month and I'll help you with that. That to me is a mastermind. So, we're a true sense. If you got a problem, I'm going to roll up my sleeves with you. I'm going to go to work with you. I'm going to help you through it. And I'm proud to say we've helped a lot of businesses that have gotten themselves into trouble, unwind some of those things, or they're already successful and being successful, and we help them become more successful.
I love it. I've seen masterminds where they call it a mastermind, and there's only one or two guys speaking. Right. What kind of mastermind is that? Like that, I think that's more of a workshop. Like I went to learn from this person, right? A real mastermind is like what you describe. Is everybody has a chance to speak their voice, talk about what's working and what's not working, and then if you have challenges, then the group helps you solve those challenges.
Right. And Napoleon Hill, I don't mean to cut you off, but Napoleon Hill talked about masterminds in Think and Grow Rich. That's where everybody kind of got the concept of a mastermind, was through Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. And the way he described it was being able to have experts that were a phone call away, basically, so that he, if he didn't have the information, or if he didn't have the experience, could call on the person who had the answer or had the experience and tap into that wealth of knowledge and be able to do something greater with the sum of many than he could do on his own. And that was really the true definition of a mastermind. I think it's been lost and kind of bastardized and cannibalized. Unfortunately, people call coaching programs masterminds, and they're not wrong, but that's not the true sense of what it is. What I want is a community where it's like when I need something, I know, like we have a member that is what's the, can't even think of the word right now. You just asked me about it. I'm old and it's slipping away, but you just asked me about it a minute ago. We did novations.
Yeah.
He's a novation genius. Like, whenever novations come up, it's like, let's get Marvin on the phone and let's sit down and let's unpack novations, because he's going to be able to answer the question better than I ever could. We have people who are over here really good at sales. We have people who are over here really good at this, really good at that. And it's not just, myself that you're feeding from, we're feeding from each other. And I'll even tap into these individuals when I need something. So
I love it, man. How can people get a hold of you, Don?
if they want to find me, they can always listen to me on Flip Talk, at the Flip Talk podcast, anywhere on any of the platforms out there. I'm on social media at the real Don Costa on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You can email me at don@fliptalk.com if you're interested in either ICE or anything else we have going on. Send me an email. I will respond. I'm actually approachable. Or you can go to beinthisroom.com if you want to go to the website and apply there to ICE and check it out.
By the way, guys, I highly suggest, if you're looking for a good group to be a part of, go to that website, beinthisgroup.com. Don is going to take care of you. He's legit. He's not a poser. This guy has a lot of experience. He's done a lot of flips. He's done wholesaling, but he's also a great host. So I've been to a couple of his events. He's been to a couple of my events. I consider him my friend, even though we argue sometimes about a couple of things, but that's all in the past. No beef or anything like that, but we just have disagreements about things, and that's the good thing, is that we can, as adults, we can have disagreements and still, I know I can count on Don if I need him. So that's what a real friend is. And if you are looking for a good group, this is a group, guys. I remember when I went to your event in California, and we went to I forgot his name, the guy that has a lot of rentals.
Oh, Berto, yeah.
Berto, and man, that was an amazing and that wasn't even the mastermind. That was kind of like the preamp to the mastermind.
We went to his office. Yeah, he walked us through his operation and was an open book. Yep.
He was an open book, and there was a lot of other guys from your group that were there just sharing and actively engaged, right? So if you're looking for a group like that, my friend Don has it. I stay away from running masterminds. I like the workshops better and things like that. It's just that it requires quite a little bit of a commitment for somebody to run a group like that, because you're dealing with multiple people with multiple challenges, multiple businesses, and it's an ongoing thing that has to. Masterminds, you got to be on a mastermind for quite a while before you extract really the value of a mastermind. So, if you're looking for a good group, go hit him up. Be in this group.com, right?
Beinthisroom.com.
In this room. Yeah, beinthisroom.com, and hit him up. Tell him you listen to the podcast, and you may want to become part of it or learn how it works. I'm not going to talk about pricing or anything like that, but I don't think your group is expensive at all. It's very affordable, especially if you're in business. You definitely want to network with others that are like-minded individuals. One final word for the people, Don.
Business is not easy, and a lot of people right now are learning that in the real estate space. And there's questionable market going on. One of the things that I've learned is it's important to understand that you got to pivot and make changes and find people that you can count on, tap into to get information. A lot of us, especially as men, I'm not going to say women don't do it, but I only talk for a man because I've never been a woman. But a lot of us as men, we'll close ourselves off. We'll go into our own little cave, and we'll think that we're the only ones going through problems. And so I just encourage you to not do that in these trying times. To make sure you're tapping into a community or somebody that you can count on to help guide you through whatever your challenges are. It's important to run a good business. It's important to understand your numbers, understand what's working and why it's working. If something's broken, why is it broken? And if you're actually doing those things, there's no reason why you can't navigate these rough waters.
Brother, thank you so much for being here today, Don. I appreciate you. Hey, guys, go find Don on all the social media outlets. Find him on YouTube. Subscribe to his channel. Don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. And with that being said, we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much, Don.
All right, buddy. Thank you.